The wrench slipped from Jake's grease-stained fingers as another tremor shook Kepler Station. He cursed under his breath, watching the tool float away in the reduced gravity of the outer maintenance bay. A place of intent at 19, he'd spent 3 years keeping the station's docking bays running smooth, and he knew every vibration, every hum, every mechanical heartbeat of this place. This tremor felt different. Wrong. Another freighter coming in hot. Jake muttered, pushing off the bulkhead to retrieve his wrench. The scheduling board showed nothing due for hours. Through the reinforced viewport, stars wheeled slowly as the station rotated, but no ships approached from the usual shipping lanes. The comm crackled to life. All maintenance crews, report to stations immediately. Commander Williams' voice carried an edge Jake had never heard before. Not anger, fear. Jake floated toward the comm panel, wiping his hands on his coveralls. Maintenance Bay 7, Jake reporting. What's the situation? A long pause. Unknown vessel approaching. Large. Stay at your post and continue normal operations. Normal operations. Jake snorted. Nothing about Williams sounded normal right now. The commander usually barked orders with military precision, but that tremor in his voice suggested something had rattled the old soldier badly. Jake pushed toward his current project, a damaged transport that had limped in yesterday with failing atmospheric processes. The work required crawling into the ship's belly, surrounded by pipes and conduits most people couldn't identify, let alone repair. Jake found comfort in the mechanical complexity. Systems made sense. They followed rules. Unlike people, machines didn't lie. TV tropes. Another tremor, stronger this time. Jake's magnetic boots clanged against the transport's hull as artificial gravity fluctuated. Through the maintenance bay's massive doors, he glimpsed something that made his breath catch. A ship approached Kepler Station, but calling it a ship felt inadequate. The vessel stretched nearly half a kilometer, its hull black as space itself, covered in flowing patterns that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. No running lights, no visible engines, yet it moved with impossible grace toward the station. Jake had seen plenty of alien vessels dock at Kepler. Trade ships from the Centauri Commerce Guild, sleek Andromedans, even the occasional vegan diplomatic cruiser. This looked like none of them. This looked ancient. Powerful. Dangerous. His comm buzzed. Bay 7, this is Williams. Whatever happens, keep working. Don't look at them directly. Don't speak unless spoken to. And Jake. The commander's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Don't do anything unusual. Unusual? Jake frowned, sliding back under the transport. What could he possibly do that Williams would consider unusual? He was a stable boy, not a diplomat or soldier. He fixed ships, cleaned air filters, and kept the lights on. Nothing unusual about that. TV tropes. The mysterious vessel settled into docking bay 1 with barely a whisper. Jake felt it through the station's superstructure, a gentle settling, like a mountain coming to rest. Impossible for something that massive to dock so softly. Jake tried focusing on his work, but his hands shook as he reconnected atmospheric lines. A place of intent, the transport's damaged processes hummed back to life, circulating clean air through the cabin. He should feel satisfaction at another successful repair, but unease crawled up his spine like ice water. Footsteps echoed in the maintenance bay. Not human footsteps, these resonated with harmonics that made Jake's teeth ache. He froze beneath the transport, wrench halfway to a coupling joint. The herald worked still, a voice said in accented but perfect English. The words seemed to come from everywhere at once, vibrating through the hull around Jake. After 10,000 years, the herald maintains the vessels of his people. Jake's blood turned to slush. Herald? 10,000 years? What were they talking about? He slid out from under the transport to find 3 figures standing in his maintenance bay. Tall, graceful, with elongated limbs and skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their faces held an alien beauty, sharp angles and large eyes that held depths of knowledge Jake couldn't fathom. The center figure, clearly their leader, wore robes that shifted color like oil on water. When those ancient eyes met Jake's, the being immediately dropped to one knee. The others followed suit. Herald, the leader said, voice filled with something like reverence. We have searched the stars for 10 millennia, following the old prophecies, the ancient signs. We never expected to find you here, among the machinery, your hands blessed with the grease of honest labor. Jake's mouth moved soundlessly. Herald? Prophesize? He was just a maintenance worker who kept ships running. He wanted to laugh, to point out their obvious mistake, but something in those alien eyes stopped him. The Drakmori, somehow he knew that's what they were called, continued to kneel before him. Waiting. Watching. As if Jake held answers to questions he'd never thought to ask. I'm just Jake, he stammered. The leader's expression shifted to something resembling gentle amusement. Yes, Harold. You are. Jake's hands wouldn't stop shaking as he sat on the medical examination table. The events in the maintenance bay felt like a dream now, or maybe a nightmare. Elder Thane stood nearby, his tall frame making the station's medical bay look cramped. The alien's dark robes seemed to absorb the harsh white light, creating shadows where shadows shouldn't exist. Hold still, Jake, Dr. Rebecca Martinez muttered, adjusting the bioscanner for the 5th time in 10 minutes. The device hummed and clicked, sending waves of energy through Jake's body that made his skin tingle. I've never seen readings like this. Through the viewport, Jake watched more ships arrive. Each one different from the last, some sleek in silver, others looking like they'd been grown rather than built. The space around Kepler Station filled with vessels from across the galaxy, all drawn by news that traveled faster than light through quantum communication networks. Explain it to me again, Jake said, his voice barely above a whisper. This Flame Keeper thing. What does it mean? Elder Thane moved closer, his golden eyes studying Jake with an intensity that made him squirm. Long ago, before your species learned to walk upright, there existed beings of pure energy living within the hearts of stars. We called them stellar dragons. They guided young civilizations, helped them reach for the stars, taught them to build and dream and grow. The bioscanner beeped, and Dr. Martinez frowned at the display. Jake, your DNA is doing something impossible. These patterns keep shifting, like they're rewriting themselves. That is the nature of human genetics, Thane said softly. Your species carries chaos in its very core. Most of the galaxy sees this as weakness, your short lives, your unpredictable emotions, your tendency to break rules. But this chaos is also your greatest strength. Jake rubbed his temples, feeling a headache building. I still don't understand. I'm just a maintenance worker. I fix air filters and clean fuel lines. How can I possibly have anything to do with space dragons? The stellar dragons require a specific type of mind to communicate with them, Thane explained, settling into a chair that groaned under his weight. One that can think in patterns they recognize. For 10,000 years, the galaxy has produced beings too rigid, too predictable. We learned to follow rules so well that we lost the ability to break them creatively. Dr. Martinez looked up from her scanner, excitement replacing her confusion. Jake, look at this. Your brain activity is off the charts. These neural pathways are forming connections I've never seen in human biology textbooks. Outside the viewport, a massive ship materialized from hyperspace, easily 3 times larger than Elder Thane's vessel. Its hull bore markings Jake didn't recognize, but something about its design made his stomach clench with unease. The consortium arrives, Thane said, his voice growing cold. They ruled this galaxy for millennia before your species emerged from Earth's oceans. They will not welcome news of a new Flame Keeper. Why not? Jake asked, though part of him already dreaded the answer. Because the stellar dragons do not simply guide civilizations, Thane replied. They choose which ones deserve to thrive and which ones have grown too comfortable with power. The consortium has maintained control by ensuring no new Flame Keeper could arise. The bioscanner emitted a sharp alarm. Dr. Martinez stumbled backward, staring at the readings in disbelief. This is impossible. Jake's cellular structure is adapting in real time. It's like his body is preparing for something. Jake felt it too, a warmth spreading through his chest, as if something long dormant was finally stirring to life. When he closed his eyes, he could almost hear something distant, like music played on instruments made of starlight. The awakening begins, Thane whispered. After 10,000 years of silence, the stellar dragons sense their herald has returned. More ships continued arriving, dozens now, their varied designs creating a chaotic rainbow against the star field. Communication channels buzzed with requests for docking clearance, demands for information, and heated arguments in languages Jake couldn't identify. Commander Williams burst into the medical bay, his face flushed with stress. We've got representatives from 43 different species demanding to see Jake. Half of them want to worship him, the other half want to study him. And the consortium is requesting immediate extradition for crimes against galactic stability. Crimes? Jake's voice cracked. What crimes? I haven't done anything. You exist, Thane said simply. That is crime enough for those who profit from keeping the galaxy divided. Dr. Martinez saved her scan results and turned to face them all. Whatever's happening to Jake, it's accelerating. His genetic markers are shifting into patterns I don't have words for. If this continues, he might not be entirely human much longer. Jake looked down at his hands. They appeared normal, still stained with grease from his morning's work, still bearing small scars from years of maintenance duties. But beneath the skin, he felt something changing, growing, preparing. What happens now? He asked. Through the viewport, the nearest star seemed to pulse with a rhythm that matched Jake's heartbeat. Other crew members probably wouldn't notice the subtle change in light, but Jake felt it like a drum beating in his chest. Now, Elder Thane said, we discover whether the galaxy is ready for the return of the stellar dragons. And whether you are ready to become something more than human. The star pulsed again, and Jake heard it calling. The Drakmori ship felt alive around Jake as he walked through its corridors. The walls pulsed with soft blue light that seemed to respond to his footsteps, and the air hummed with energy that made his teeth ache. Elder Thane led him deeper into the vessel, past rooms filled with technology Jake couldn't begin to understand. The communion chamber has been prepared, Thane said, his voice echoing strangely in the narrow hallway. But I must warn you, what you are about to attempt has not been done for 10,000 years. We do not know what effect it will have on a human mind. Jake wiped sweaty palms on his coveralls. And if something goes wrong? Then we will have lost the last chance to awaken the stellar dragons, Thane replied simply. And the galaxy will remain trapped in its current state of stagnation. No pressure at all, Jake thought grimly. The communion chamber took his breath away. The circular room stretched 30 feet across, its domed ceiling covered in swirling patterns that moved like living things. Crystalline formations jutted from the walls, each one humming at a different frequency. In the center sat a simple chair surrounded by monitoring equipment that Dr. Martinez was frantically calibrating. Jake, thank goodness you're here, she said without looking up from her instruments. These readings make no sense. The chamber is generating energy signatures I've never seen before. Through the transparent walls, Jake could see space stretching out in all directions. Kepler Station hung nearby, looking small and fragile compared to the massive ships now surrounding it. But beyond the station, beyond the ships, the local star burned with its usual steady light. For now. The process is simple in theory, Elder Thane explained as Jake settled into the chair. You must open your mind and reach out toward the star. Listen for the song that dwells within its heart. The stellar dragon Solaris has slept there for millennia, waiting for someone who can hear its voice. Dr. Martinez attached electrodes to Jake's temples, her hands shaking slightly. Your brain activity is already showing unusual patterns. Whatever's happening to you, it's getting stronger. Jake could feel it too, a warmth spreading through his chest, like standing near a campfire on a cold night. But this warmth came from inside, growing stronger with each breath. What if I can't hear anything? Jake asked. You will, Thane said with quiet confidence. The stellar dragons created the genetic patterns you carry. They have been waiting for someone like you to emerge. Jake closed his eyes and tried to relax, though relaxation seemed impossible with so much depending on him. He thought about his simple life on Kepler Station, maintaining ships, fixing air filters, sending credits home to Earth. 3 days ago, his biggest worry had been whether the station's food recycler would break down again. Now he was supposed to talk to a space dragon. Clear your mind, Thane instructed. Do not try to force contact. Simply, listen. Jake breathed slowly, letting the chamber's humming energy wash over him. At first, he heard only the familiar sounds of machinery, pumps circulating air, power systems maintaining life support, the gentle vibration of the ship's engines. Then, gradually, something else. A sound so faint it might have been his imagination. Like music played at the edge of hearing, or voices calling from very far away. Jake focused on that distant whisper, following it deeper into his own mind. The whisper grew stronger. Young Herald. Jake's eyes snapped open, but he saw nothing except the communion chamber around him. Dr. Martinez leaned forward, studying her readings with wide eyes. Jake, your neural activity just spiked beyond anything I've recorded, she said. What did you hear? I heard. Jake paused, unsure how to explain. A voice. It called me Herald. Try again, Thane urged. Go deeper this time. Do not fear what you might find. Jake closed his eyes once more, reaching out with senses he didn't know he possessed. The distant voice called to him again, clearer now, filled with warmth and ancient wisdom. I am Solaris, the voice said, resonating through Jake's bones. Asterisk I have waited so long to sing again. Asterisk. Suddenly Jake's mind exploded with images. He saw civilizations rising from primitive worlds, their people learning to build cities, then ships, then reaching for the stars. He witnessed species making first contact with others, sharing knowledge and culture across vast distances. And always, in every vision, the stellar dragons were there, beings of pure energy living within stars, offering guidance to those ready to grow. Asterisk we guided them all. Asterisk Solaris explained, its voice now clear as thunder in Jake's mind. Asterisk we helped them learn, helped them reach beyond their small worlds. But some species grew jealous of our influence. Asterisk. More visions flooded Jake's consciousness. He saw wars fought across star systems, advanced civilizations using terrible weapons to bind the stellar dragons, forcing them into silence. Asterisk they feared what we represented. Asterisk Solaris continued. Asterisk change. Growth. The possibility that younger species might surpass their own achievements. So they chained us to our stars and declared themselves the rightful rulers of the galaxy. Asterisk. Jake felt tears streaming down his face, though he hadn't realized he was crying. The dragon's loneliness hit him like a physical blow, 10,000 years of enforced silence, cut off from the civilizations it had once helped nurture. Asterisk but your species. Asterisk Solaris said, and Jake felt warmth flood through the connection. Asterisk your beautiful, chaotic species has done what we thought impossible. Your genetics have recreated the patterns needed to hear our songs. Asterisk. Jake. Dr. Martinez's voice seemed to come from very far away. The star's changing. Its energy output is shifting into completely new patterns. Through the communion chamber's walls, Jake could see Kepler's star pulsing with rhythmic light. Every ship around the station would be detecting the same phenomenon, a star singing for the first time in 10,000 years. Asterisk the chains are breaking. Asterisk Solaris whispered. Asterisk soon, my brothers and sisters will hear my call. Soon, the galaxy will remember what it has lost. Asterisk. Jake opened his eyes, feeling fundamentally changed by what he had experienced. Elder Thane watched him with something approaching reverence. What did you see? The alien asked softly. Jake wiped tears from his face, searching for words to describe the indescribable. I saw the truth. About what happened to the stellar dragons. About why the galaxy has been stuck in the same patterns for so long. Through the chamber walls, the star continued to pulse with new life, its song carrying across space to other systems where ancient dragons slept. The awakening had begun. The command center of Kepler Station buzzed with activity as reports poured in from across the galaxy. Jake stood at the main display, watching data streams that painted a picture he could barely comprehend. In just 48 hours since his first contact with Solaris, everything had changed. Admiral Hayes is requesting another update, Lieutenant Chen called from the communication station. The young officer's voice cracked with exhaustion. None of them had slept since the hegemony ships appeared. Jake nodded, though he felt like a fraud accepting military briefings. 3 days ago, he'd been cleaning fuel injectors. Now admirals wanted his opinion on galactic affairs. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Admiral Patricia Hayes in her Earth Command uniform. Even across the vast distance, Jake could see the stress lines around her eyes. Jake, the situation is developing faster than our analysts can track, she began without preamble. The Centauri colonies reported breakthrough discoveries in quantum mechanics 6 hours ago. The Vegan Diplomatic Corps announced they've solved faster-than-light communication problems that have puzzled them for centuries. Every system with a stellar dragon is experiencing unprecedented advancement. Elder Thane moved closer to the display, his tall frame casting shadows across the hologram. This is as it should be, Admiral. The stellar dragons were always meant to guide civilization's growth. What you see now is natural progress, no longer artificially constrained. Admiral Hayes frowned. Natural or not, it's terrifying the established powers. We're receiving diplomatic protests from dozens of species claiming their territorial agreements are being violated by rapid technological changes. Jake felt Solaris stirring in his mind, its ancient consciousness brushing against his thoughts like warm sunlight. Through their connection, he sensed other awakening dragons across the galaxy, each one beginning to sing after millennia of enforced silence. Asterisk they fear what they cannot control, asterisk Solaris whispered in his thoughts. Asterisk as they always have. Asterisk. Admiral, with respect, those territorial agreements exist because advanced species have spent thousands of years keeping younger civilizations suppressed, Jake said, surprised by the confidence in his own voice. The stellar dragons are simply helping everyone reach their natural potential. Commander Williams approached the display, her face grim. Admiral, We have a more immediate problem. Long-range sensors show hegemony battle groups moving toward multiple systems with awakened dragons. This isn't just about Kepler Station anymore. The display shifted to show a tactical overview of nearby star systems. Red indicators marked hegemony fleet movements, dozens of ships heading toward worlds where dragons had begun singing again. They're moving to silence them, Elder Thane said, his voice heavy with old pain. Just as they did 10,000 years ago. The hegemony cannot allow the dragons to guide civilization again. Jake closed his eyes, reaching out through his connection to Solaris. Immediately, he felt the network of awakening dragons, some fully conscious now, others still stirring from their long sleep. Each one blazed like a beacon in his mind, their combined songs creating a harmony that made his heart race. Asterisk, how many of them are there? Asterisk, he asked Solaris silently. Asterisk, thousands. Asterisk, the dragon replied. Asterisk, in every populated system, we once sang. Many were bound so deeply they may never wake. But others remember the music. Asterisk. Jake. Dr. Martinez's voice broke through his concentration. She stood at a sensor station, her face pale. I'm reading massive energy signatures from the star. Solaris is becoming more active. Through the command center's main viewport, Jake could see their star pulsing with increasing intensity. Waves of energy rippled across its surface, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. The hegemony ships are responding, Lieutenant Chen reported. They're powering weapons systems. Jake opened his eyes to see the tactical display updating in real time. The sleek hegemony vessels had arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around Kepler Station, their weapon arrays charged and ready. A new transmission crackled through the communication system. The voice that emerged was cold, mechanical, devoid of any warmth. Attention all vessels in the Kepler system. You are harboring a being that threatens galactic stability. Surrender the human known as Jake immediately, or face the consequences. Commander Williams stepped forward, her jaw set with determination. This is Commander Williams of Kepler Station. Jake is under our protection. Any hostile action will be met with appropriate response. The mechanical voice responded without emotion. Your primitive weapons cannot threaten hegemony technology. You have 10 minutes to comply. Jake felt dozens of eyes turn toward him. The command staff, Elder Thane, Dr. Martinez, all waiting for him to make a decision that could affect billions of lives across the galaxy. Asterisk, what should I do? Asterisk, he asked Solaris desperately. Asterisk, what you were born to do. Asterisk, the dragon replied. Asterisk, show them what they have forgotten. Asterisk. Jake straightened, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. Commander Williams, open a channel to all ships in the system. Jake, what are you planning? She asked, her hand hovering over the controls. I'm going to give them a choice, Jake said, moving to stand before the main display. Just like the dragons always have. The channel opened, broadcasting his words to every vessel surrounding Kepler Station, hegemony warships, alien diplomatic vessels, and the growing crowd of ships that had come to witness the awakening. This is Jake, he began, his voice carrying across space to thousands of listening beings. I know you're afraid. Change is scary, especially when you've spent so long in control. But the stellar dragons aren't here to conquer anyone. They're here to help us all grow. Through his connection to Solaris, Jake felt other dragons stirring across the galaxy, their songs growing stronger as his words reached them. You have a choice, Jake continued. You can try to silence them again, chain them back to their stars, and keep the galaxy locked in the same patterns for another 10,000 years. Or you can listen to what they have to teach us. The star above them pulsed brighter, and Jake felt Solaris's approval wash through him like warm water. 10 minutes, the hegemony voice repeated coldly. Jake looked at Commander Williams, then at Elder Thane, finally at the star burning above them all. The gathering storm was about to break, and he stood at its center. The countdown timer on Kepler Station's main display showed 8 minutes remaining. Jake watched the red numbers tick down while dozens of hegemony ships maintained their positions around the station, their weapon arrays glowing with deadly energy. Star killer weapons, Dr. Martinez whispered, her voice barely audible in the tense command center. I've read about them in classified reports. They can destabilize a star's core, cause it to collapse or explode. Commander Williams paced behind the tactical display, her hands clenched into fists. 40,000 people on this station. Millions more in the outer colonies. They'd kill them all just to silence one person. Elder Thane stood motionless near the viewport, his golden eyes fixed on the hegemony fleet. They have done worse before. Entire star systems erased from existence when their populations grew too independent. The hegemony calls it maintaining galactic stability. Jake felt sick. 3 days ago, his biggest worry had been whether the coffee machine in the maintenance bay would work. Now millions of lives hung in the balance because of something inside his DNA that he didn't understand and hadn't asked for. There has to be another way, he said, more to himself than anyone else. Through his connection to Solaris, Jake sensed the stellar dragon's growing anger. The ancient being had watched civilizations rise and fall, had guided countless species toward enlightenment, only to be chained in silence by those who preferred power over progress. They threaten not just you, young herald, Solaris whispered in Jake's mind. They threaten every soul on this station, every dream of growth across the galaxy. They would murder innocence to maintain their stranglehold on evolution itself. Jake closed his eyes, reaching out through the network of awakening dragons. What he found took his breath away. Dozens of stellar dragons across nearby systems were stirring to full consciousness, their ancient minds burning with 10,000 years of suppressed fury. We remember, came a chorus of voices from distant stars. We remember the binding, the silence, the civilizations we could not guide because of their chains. 6 minutes, Lieutenant Chen announced, his voice cracking with fear. The hegemony ships began moving into final attack positions. Their sleek hulls reflected the light of Kepler's star, creating a ring of predators around the helpless station. Jake, Commander Williams said quietly, if you want to surrender yourself to save the station, no one would blame you. Jake opened his eyes and looked at the faces around him. Dr. Martinez, who had treated him like a puzzle to solve rather than a person. Commander Williams, who had spent 30 years protecting this outpost at the galaxy's edge. Lieutenant Chen, barely older than Jake himself. Elder Thane, carrying the grief of his entire species. No, Jake said firmly. I won't let them win through fear. He reached out to Solaris again, this time not just listening but joining his will with the dragon's ancient power. Show them, he whispered across their connection. Show them what they're really threatening. The star above Kepler station began to change. At first, it was subtle, a slight increase in brightness, a shift in the solar wind that made the station's radiation shields hum more loudly. Then the changes accelerated. What's happening to the star? Dr. Martinez shouted, staring at readings that climbed beyond her instrument's ability to measure. Light erupted from Kepler's sun, but not the harsh nuclear fire of normal stellar activity. This light held intelligence, purpose, and a beauty that made everyone in the command center stop what they were doing to stare. Solaris was manifesting. The stellar dragon's form became visible as streams of pure energy flowing around the star's surface, a being kilometers in length, made of concentrated starlight and ancient wisdom. Its voice resonated across every communication frequency simultaneously, reaching every ship in the system. I am Solaris, the dragon announced, its words carrying the weight of eons. I have dwelt in this star since before your species learned to use tools. I have watched civilizations grow and flourish under my guidance, only to see them crushed by those who profit from stagnation. The hegemony ships hesitated, their weapon arrays flickering uncertainly. Jake felt their confusion through the neural network connecting all the awakening dragons. The hegemony had technology to disrupt stars, but they had never faced a star that could fight back. You threaten innocent lives to preserve your control, Solaris continued, its form growing brighter and more defined. You would commit genocide rather than allow natural growth. This ends now. Across nearby star systems, other dragons began manifesting as well. Through his connection to the network, Jake felt them awakening, beings of incredible power who had spent millennia in forced hibernation. Jake, Elder Thane said urgently, the dragons are awakening faster than we anticipated. Their combined power could destabilize local space if they act in anger. Jake realized the terrible irony of their situation. The stellar dragons had the power to destroy the hegemony fleet, but doing so would make them no better than their oppressors. The galaxy needed guidance, not another cycle of violence. He stepped forward to the communication console, his hands shaking as he opened a channel to every ship in the system. This is Jake, he said, his voice carrying to thousands of beings across dozens of species. I know you're scared. The hegemony has controlled the galaxy for so long that change feels impossible. But the stellar dragons aren't here to replace one form of tyranny with another. Through the viewport, he could see Solaris hovering near the star, its form beautiful and terrible at the same time. We're offering partnership, Jake continued. The dragons want to guide civilizations toward their full potential, not rule them. Every species gets to choose their own path, but no one has to walk it alone. The hegemony fleet remained motionless, their weapons still charged but no longer targeting the star. Jake sensed their uncertainty through Solaris. Millennia of absolute control had not prepared them for opposition they couldn't simply destroy. One by one, ships throughout the system began powering down their weapons. Some hegemony vessels departed immediately, unable to accept a galaxy where their authority could be questioned. Others remained, their curiosity apparently stronger than their fear. 2 minutes remaining, Lieutenant Chen announced, though the countdown seemed meaningless now. A new transmission reached the station, this time from a hegemony vessel that had stayed behind. The voice was different from the cold mechanical tone they'd heard before, older, more thoughtful. "Herald," the voice said, using Jake's title for the first time. "What assurance can you give that the dragons will not seek revenge for their imprisonment?" Jake felt Solaris's presence in his mind, the stellar dragon's ancient wisdom flowing through their connection. "Because revenge would make us exactly what you feared we were," Jake replied. "The dragons remember pain, but they choose growth over vengeance." The countdown timer reached 0, but no weapons fired. Instead, Solaris began to fade back into the star, its manifestation dissolving into streams of gentle light. "The choice has been made," the dragon whispered to Jake. "Now the real work begins." Over the following days, Jake found himself busier than he'd ever imagined possible. Representatives from dozens of species wanted to establish formal contact with the stellar dragons. Trade agreements needed renegotiation now that suppressed civilizations were advancing rapidly. Most importantly, the dragons themselves required careful coordination to prevent their enthusiasm from overwhelming younger species. But Jake still returned to the maintenance bays each morning. He still fixed atmospheric processes and cleaned fuel lines, because someone had to keep the ships running while diplomats reshaped the galaxy. The difference was that now, when he worked beneath a transport's hull, he could hear the gentle songs of stellar dragons across space, ancient beings who had chosen hope over hatred, and who trusted a former stable boy to help them build something better. The galaxy would never be the same, and Jake couldn't be happier about that.